Toshi's death scene. That was way better than him being shot off a horse. One could have hoped. I'm sad, though, that we didn't get one last interaction between him and Kazuma. Nearly 2 months had passed since Kazuma and I first set foot on the island of Ezo. We were in the heat of summer, but the weather could have convinced me otherwise. My bones were soothed by gentle winds coasting from the sea. After separating from Soma and Shimada, we tracked Hijikata's journey to Benten Fortress, hoping to uncover the whereabouts of his remains. At the end of last year, the former shogunate troops were nearly 3,000 strong when they reached the shores of Ezo. The Imperial Army gave them a rude awakening, dwindling their forces down to 2,000 over the course of months. Investigating the reasons for their sudden decrease was a path I was confidently disinterested in pursuing. The truth, I feared, would only break my heart more. Allegedly, Imperial forces brought over 5,000 soldiers to squash any resistance punitively. The outcome of the war was determined before a single soldier set foot on the battlefield. The timeline is as follows. May 9th, 1869. Imperial forces reached the coast of Ezo. June 11th, 1869. War between the Imperials and the government of Hakodate began. June 14th, 1869. The resistance fighters surrendered at Benten Fortress. A total of 92 men surrendered at Benten. Among them were 13 Shinsengumi warriors. June 18th, 1869. Goryakaku, the last remaining stronghold, offered their terms of surrender to the Imperial Army. The Boshin War, as the conflict later became known, between the Imperial Army and the fragments of the Tokugawa shogunate had ended. As for the search for Hijikata's remains, it proved to be as futile an effort as anything else in Ezo. I like to believe that some generous soul, out of fear in handing over Hijikata's remains to the Imperials, honorably buried his body somewhere out of reach. That would be nice. Kazuma, you mentioned something to me about how humans only wage wars for wealth and power, but do you honestly still believe that? Prior to our time in Ezo, I was sure that he would have nodded without giving it a second thought. But there was a noticeable shift in his attitude. After killing both Father and Kaoru, and witnessing the end of the Shinsengumi firsthand, seeing all that they had died for, perhaps Kazuma had an epiphany, or, at the very least, was more receptive to notions that he once viewed as foreign, if not beneath him.
This experience has been enlightening. The men who gave their lives in Ezo are certainly exceptions to that belief. My views were upheld by the atrocities we saw back in the Battle of Toba-Fushimi, but Hijikata was no fool, nor did he suffer any sort of delusions of grandeur. He fought, like any man should, to his death.
Good point. I wasn't sure what sort of magic the Shinsengumi conjured to keep hold of their resistance in the face of certain death. As Kazuma had described, they were keenly aware of the odds, yet somehow were steadfast in their convictions against the Imperial Army.
Take a long look at everything around you. This place is no more than a graveyard, but to you, and the people who mattered, it is a memorial to the will and testament of the Shinsengumi's character.
But everyone in the Shinsengumi...
They failed. Some of them held a notion that their idealistic worldview would stand up to scrutiny, and that notion was proven false. They are fools for believing otherwise, and so the world went, spinning without them.
As painful as it was to listen, I understood why Kazuma may have felt that way, but it was something with which I totally disagreed. They were warriors. It's not like they couldn't keep up with the times. It's that they refused to do so out of principle. I'm certain they had a good reason for staying true to their convictions.
It never ceases to amaze me how hastily you jump to conclusions. Listen back to what I said. I hadn't labeled them as fools out of spite. But chasing such an elusive dream is impossible. Demons don't often value upholding personal convictions, however temporal they may be.
Cosmo was speaking vaguely, but it was likely the greatest compliment that he could have ever given to anyone, much more in reference to the Shinsengumi. In a way, I detected a hint of envy in Cosmo's statement, as if he wished there were opportunities to put his needs before the collective needs of his kin. A long silence stretched between us, broken only by my timid musings. Where do you plan on going from here, Cosmo?
Before engaging in the bane that is human affairs, we demons lived a peaceful, secluded life. I pine quite dearly to return to that life. I tire of participating in these frivolous squabbles.
I see. I hadn't ever thought to consider that Cosmo, too, was a transplant in this world. How did he cope with the strife, with the pettiness of human conflict? The risk, of course, was losing touch with his concept of home in these destitute conditions.
I have a lingering suspicion that it's only a matter of time until the Imperial Army seeks to dig its slimy fingers in my affairs as well. Heading back to my clan is my utmost concern, so that I may prepare my people to head into hiding where they will be out of the humans' grasp.
Back to your clan. This meant my journey with Cosmo had ended, and it was time for us to part ways. Or you could return as his bride! Consider! Our time together was over the span of 1.5 years. There was a part of myself that slid into some fantasy that the two of us would travel together indefinitely. It could happen.
What about you, girl?
Each of my affairs were concluded. In a way, I was without direction or purpose. I was, in no small measure, alone. I haven't decided yet. I do think, however, that I'll stick around in Ezo for the time being. I don't want this memory to fade. I'm not ready to relinquish the resting place of the Shinsengumi. While I was in the middle of answering him, Cosmo brought his fingernails close to his eye level, gazing at them with disinterest. Oh my gosh, this is gonna finally happen.
You know, in the beginning I only expressed interest in you because you were a demon, and a female at that.
Huh?
But fate brought me closer to you, and by extension the Shinsengumi as well. You overcame the tragic loss of your father and brother with unexpected maturity, proving that there was more than meets the eye with you.
Well, it was the first time Cosmo had ever complimented me outright. In all honesty, I had no idea how to respond. I didn't really have a choice. Father, Kaoru, and the Shinsengumi. I just dealt with their losses as they came, as there was no use in dwelling on the past.
No need to be modest. If I had never embarked on this quest to locate the members of the Shinsengumi with you, then I would have likely never become privy to their real selves. Huh. Who would have guessed you were capable of teaching me something, eh?
Cosmo was almost never one to speak bluntly with me, but this moment felt so different. I feel like he's nothing but blunt. Have I missed something? It confused me at first, having become too familiar with his sardonic remarks to know if they were genuine. All of a sudden, his arms were outstretched towards me. Go on. Huh? Whoa! Hello? Whoa! Yeah! Yes! Yes, yes, good! Sneak attack kiss! Yes! So good! When he goes for it, he goes for it! Woo! Yeah! I thought it was never gonna happen. Sheesh. By the time I realized what was occurring, his face, stunningly handsome, in spite of his intimidating expression, was merely inches in front of mine. My heart fluttered like a pinwheel, barely registering that my and Cosma's lips were pressed together. Numbness trickled from the top of my head, and although I'd wanted to scream, I couldn't. Instead, my lips remained shut, vexed and mute. It was strange, though. For some reason, I hadn't minded it at all. My limbs were frozen, offering the meekest of resistances in the form of no movement at all. His lashes tickled the side of my cheek, and only up close did I notice his immaculate skin. Oh, Chizuru. What a thing to notice during a kiss. Oh, you're my favorite girl. Whoa. Kazuma flicked his tongue gently inside of my mouth, which was softer than I anticipated. Before I knew it, Kazuma and I were locked in an intimate throw. There was an inexorable draw to Kazuma, an energy that tingled my face just from the touch of his lips. All of my deep longings were awakened by the heat in our sensuous kiss, making me incapable of focusing on anything else. Just when I thought my heart would burst, he relinquished his hold on my body just as quickly as he had imposed it. If he just walks away after that, I'm gonna slap him. Oh, it's amazing. For a moment, I was totally speechless, perhaps wide-eyed enough to elicit a small smile from Kazuma.
Let this kiss stand as proof that I do not consider you a stranger.
Oh, okay, so we're like acquaintances now? Okay, is that what that was? Great. Where did that come from? I somehow managed to escape my stupor long enough to ask him a question.
As soon as you're ready, come find me.
Wait, so you mean... Why was he behaving so cryptically? All of this felt so unclear to me. I was still reeling from our kiss. I struggled to form words, much less a sentence. Kazuma, however, was unconcerned with my incoherent ramblings and continued on without bringing attention to my blushed cheeks.
And if you don't, well, then I'll come for you.
Damn. That better be a promise. Although we have accomplished everything we set out to do in Ezo, I'm apparently also incoherently rambling now. It seemed as though Kazuma had some unfinished business of his own to attend to. Granted, I wasn't wholly unopposed to the idea. As we bookended one chapter of our lives, it was time to start anew, and for the first time in years, I was ready for whatever life had to throw at me. I could finally shed my skin and blossom with nothing to tether me down. I guess, yeah, like you're footloose and fancy-free, basically. All your ties, any tie you had is like gone. All you have is Kazuma now. That was wild. That was absolutely wild. I can't believe he waited till the very last second to give me the smooch. Dude. That's rude. So rude. He made me work harder than Chikage did. Oh my goodness, what a butt this guy is. But, I have to say, I love that he didn't try to take her with him at the end here. He, like, respected that she wanted to stay and sort through some more stuff about the Shinsengumi and her feelings. And that, you know, when you're ready, you can come find me. I thought that was really sweet. There's just something so charming about these two. I don't know what it is. Like, they're so well suited. I said it before in Kyoto Winds, and again here, I'm just like... It's funny, because there's not anything overtly romantic. Not, there's romantic moments. But it feels, I don't know, it just feels so natural. It's like none of it's forced. There's a comfortableness about it. I just don't know. I don't know what it is. They fit. They fit so good together. Man. Yeah, they're both really good. I don't know. I just don't know how to explain it. And it's not just because of that smooch at the end that I'm rambling like an idiot. It's probably not helping. But still. Alright. Who came for who first? Come on. Flip the tables, Chizuru. It's time for you to go get your boy. Goodness. Alright, final chapter hype. January 1870. Okay, so she spent about a half a year or so? I was alone, bundled in a thick blanket during a blustery winter day in my childhood home in Edo. So you went to Edo first. Okay. My, it's freezing. Guess I shouldn't be surprised. Vapor escaped my mouth with each exhale. My restlessness was further spurred by this incessant urge to clean the aging homestead. So I entered the chilly yard, gathering the dead leaves scattered along the grass into a neat pile. Man, she really tidied up the place. Looks great. The season brought with it festivities that had the town buzzing, and I watched townspeople hustling up and down the street. After returning to Edo, my first order of business was writing Dr. Matsumoto a heartfelt letter. He replied immediately, expressing sincere relief after having been notified of my safety. Dr. Matsumoto made a point of iterating that I could reach out to him should I ever require help in a tight bind, which warmed my heart. My second order of business was writing to Sen. She insisted that I reside with her in Yase village, but although I appreciated her generous offer, I refused. It was because, just as I was pondering to myself, Tanaka?
Oh, Chizuru! You have no idea how grateful I am for your help. Do you remember me? You inspected my child's cold.
All of a sudden, I was approached by my next-door neighbor, who sung words of praise to me. Oh, please. It was no problem at all. How's he doing?
Oh, splendidly! Back when Koto closed his clinic and I was told that you left for Kyoto, I was so worried about you. But seeing you here safe brings a tear to this old woman's eye. Enough about that, though. You aren't spending the winter here alone, are you?
Why, yes. Sadly, my father passed away, so I'll have to make do.
But living alone as a woman is so dangerous. The war might be over, but evil always lurks when you least expect it to. So, what's next for you, then? Do you still plan on running the clinic from this house?
That's something I have yet to figure out myself.
Whatever you do, it can't be easy to do it alone, can it? Say, I have an idea. Why don't I find a nice man to introduce you to? Couldn't hurt.
Huh? Well...
You see, right around the corner from Ryogoku Bridge, there's a quaint little medicine shop there. One of the clerks is...
Oh, sure. I shall check it out when I get the chance.
Are you sure? The two of you would be perfect. Same age, I think, too. Well, a pretty girl like you should have no problem finding suitors, so please let me know whenever you're ready and I'd be happy to help.
My neighbor flashed a bright grin, nodding her head politely before waving me goodbye. Bye! It was kind of her to express an interest in my well-being and all, but... Finding suitors, huh? Maybe it is time for me to start thinking about settling down. I had still had some wounds to lick, so I found myself a little too preoccupied to worry about it just yet. If I had to marry someone, then... How have you not been thinking about that smooch every day? Every day, girl! I was suddenly thrust into a flashback. Something about my conversation with my neighbor evoked that moment in Ezo. I wonder why. I mean, we were together for almost 2 years. Cosmo was so patient with me during the tumultuous period following my separation from the Shinsengumi. When I lost father in Kaoru, he was a shoulder that I could cry on and offered me words of comfort. He even escorted me to Ezo and stood beside me as we witnessed the end of the Shinsengumi. I'm not sure if the memories we shared together could ever be bested by another man, as if anyone else could ever understand all that I'd been through. Although Cosmo told me that he would come for me whenever my heart was ready, he told you to go find him, girl! Take some initiative for once! I mean, I guess she did track down the Shinsengumi all over the place, but track down your man! I'ma slap you. So much time had passed that I began to wonder if he truly meant it. You didn't listen! You didn't listen! And now everything's going wrong because you didn't listen. He said that demons always keep their promises. Just as I muttered to myself. Whoa! New clothes! You get 3 outfits? 3 outfits, sir. I guess he had to get some fancy new stuff to come see his girl. Good grief. I thought that you ditched the kimono because it was easier to work in the Western outfit. Whatever, you look great. Huh? What? Was I hallucinating? What? Rub, rub, rub. I rubbed my eyes incredulously. But the image didn't change. He was here, standing in front of me, appearing like a specter from an ethereal mist like he always does. It was something out of a dream. And then he spoke. Thank goodness you came, because she never would have.
Chizuru, I've come for you.
As soon as I heard his familiar, arrogant tone, the hairs along the back of my neck stood up.
What's with the look? This is the warmest welcome you can muster after being deprived of my presence for months.
Oh, there was no mistaking him. Almost 6 months had passed since we spoke, yet he was his usual callous self. Honestly, I couldn't expect any less from Cosmo. And would you really? So you really did come. For me. All of the tears that I thought were dried and left in Ezo began welling up once more. I wanted nothing less than for him to see me in such a state, but my heart was untied. Nothing could be done.
Hadn't I mentioned that demons always keep their word? Or do you still doubt me?
Well, whether or not I believe you is one thing, but you can't blame me for starting to worry. I mean, I've received no correspondence from you in half a year's time. My eyes shifted away from Cosmo, and I rushed to wipe my tears from my puffy, swollen eyes. I was my only friend throughout this period, save for the harsh and lonesome winter. Uh-huh.
Tell me how much you miss me, eh?
I never said that! There was no hiding how much I had missed him. But he was so frustratingly smug about it, as if it were his intention to keep me waiting all along, which made me hesitant to admit it. Just as I was about to offer my own snarky response, Cosmo stopped me with an outstretched arm. Then he drew me in closer, pressing his lips against mine just like an Ezo. How impertinent. Instinctively, my head jerked backwards. Ah! Hi! Just what do you think you're doing?
What? Are you deaf? I've come to claim you.
Damn. Whew. You get warm in here? I froze. His crimson eyes beamed in front of me. A well of emotion stirred tirelessly in my stomach, glancing back and forth between euphoric joy and trepidation. My heart was pulled in 1,000 directions.
Just so you are aware, I have begun preparations to migrate the Cosma clan to a new home. A place which, if everything goes as planned, would be out of the Meiji government's reach. A safe place. You are the last piece of the puzzle. I will tolerate no resistance, so come with me at once.
Hold on a minute! I can't just up and leave everything so sudden.
Sudden? What's sudden about it? I'm not here to play games. You kept me waiting for 5 months.
Yeah, she did. Call her out.
Actually, not just 5 months. If you add up all the time I wasted chasing you when you were under the Shinsengumi's custody, it's even longer.
Ugh. I would think that our last interaction would have changed things, but he was as pompous as ever. I was so aghast with embarrassment that I had nothing to say, as if he would listen to my reply. But while the world around us sped into a new age, Cosma was a constant, unbending and unbroken, and always by my side.
Well, what's it going to be? Are you coming with me or not?
I searched inside myself for the right words to say, leaving an awkward space to which Cosma thinned his scarlet eyes gleefully.
There was no need to bother with asking, was there? The answer was so clear to me all this time.
He slowly closed the distance between us even more than he already had. His strong, thick arms covered me in warmth. Ah, first name! Finally.
Chizuru.
Then? Yeah! Woohoo! He forced his lips upon mine, but this was different. It was as if he possessed a sixth sense to read all of my thoughts intuitively and on command. But I knew he was telling the truth. From the moment we parted in Ezo, my heart yearned for his tender embrace. It was a feeling that I cherished. Cosma might have been a pain, but he was my pain, and I was all the better for it. Yay, my pain and the butt. Oh, we did it. That was so good. Oh, thank goodness for that boy. She would have stayed alone forever. Kazaddy? Achievement unlocked. Yay! Yay! Oh, I loved it. I loved everything about it. Oh, so good. So good, so good. Well, we didn't have fun times like I was hoping. I'm trying to think if we had a kink for him. I think sneak attack is his kink. He's good at those. But yeah, that was really awesome. And for once, she wasn't like, oh, I'm a monster about herself, so that was nice too. I also liked that I think everybody, like every single character was basically used in that route, which was nice too. It felt like no loose ends were left behind. So that was good. That was just really, really excellent. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you very much for joining me. And now we have the unrequited love ending for Cosma and one bad end, because this boy is different than everyone else. So we have those to look forward to. I'm not sure. He's in the top. He's in the top 3. I'm torn because my top 3 I love so much. Ooh, I gotta think about it. I gotta mull. He might be number 1. We'll see. I'll ponder this as I go over the next few endings. So hopefully I'll see you there for those, guys. Thanks again for joining me, and until next time, I will see you later.